up, you guys? Welcome back to Diesel Creek. If this is your first time joining us, my name's Matt. If this isn't your first time joining us, you'll know that I play around with a lot of old heavy equipment, all kind of obscure stuff that I can get my hands on. I mean, there's a drag line sitting right behind you guys. So today we're going to be playing with compaction equipment. Now, compaction equipment is something that I actually have the most of, and that's you know, for packing down dirt or rock or whatever it is. It rolls it in, it packs it in, it makes it hard. Anyways, compaction equipment is something that keeps multiplying around here like rabbits. I don't understand why, but people keep giving me compaction equipment. Today is no different. The neighbor brought this thing down. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that my neighbor used to have his own excavation outfit, and he had plenty of equipment sitting around, and he's been in the process of cleaning up his place, and he said, hey, you want this thing? It ran last time I used it, and that's been a long time ago. He said, I think there's something wrong with the clutch, so I don't know. So this makes my 5th roller, I believe. I've only paid for one of them. I don't know why these things keep falling into my lap, but they do. So this is what I'm guessing is a 1970's double drum ditch compactor. And you can see this is made by a Master brand. I believe that's the same company that's still making like torpedo heaters and whatnot. And I believe it has a Hatz Diesel on it. It's an E71, whatever that is. It looks like a Hatz. They're kind of all made the same way. This is, well, it's very stiff, but that's a decompression release. Yeah. So basically what this is here, you would set this thing down in a ditch and it would pack in like underneath a pipe or above a pipe. Actually, look at this. I just noticed this. Co-Ring, which used to make all kind of equipment, lots of big excavators and stuff like that. Apparently they owned Master back then. I don't know if they still do. As far as I know, Co-Ring doesn't even exist anymore. But yeah, so I don't know what that thing is. That's some sort of lever. That is a crank start. That is how you start this bad boy. There's no electric start. What does this thing do? Okay, that's a throttle. It still moves. That guy doesn't move. I'm betting that's something to do with the forward and backward. I've run bigger, newer versions of these things when I was working for other large contractors, and that would definitely be the forward and reverse on any newer one. So let's check this engine out here. Can you guys see in there? Oh, there goes the spider. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell, but there ain't nothing in there. Now this is an air-cooled diesel, so that's what all these little ports are around here. That should be where the air blows through and keeps this thing cool. It looks like there's quite a bit of mud dauber nests built up in there. So that's going to be a problem if we plan on running this thing for any amount of time. If we get it running. What the heck is wrong with this fuel cap? Get on there! Good enough. This looks like an oil bath air cleaner. I'll go ahead and pop that off and take a gander. Filter element just kind of falls out there, but it doesn't look too dirty. Still a little bit of oil in there. Definitely needs some more though. These oil bath filters, you're supposed to fill them up to like the line. There's usually always a fill line. I'm guessing that's what that pink is. So let's put some oil in that. Get this guy tucked back up in there. These usually aren't supposed to come out like that. Yep, this has been... All the signs point that this old thing has been rode hard and put up wet. So the way these oil bath filters work is they actually draw the air that gets sucked into the engine down through this oil. So the oil grabs all the particles that are in the air and everything settles out into the bottom. And then nothing but clean air can get to the engine. They actually work really well. I like oil bath filters. They are a bit of maintenance compared to a paper element. But I think they work really well, and they're pretty much, you never really need to replace them, which is cool. We've got plenty of vinage going on here. I think I'm gonna guess that this thing's been sitting probably at least 15 years, maybe longer. Now this thing, I don't know if I mentioned, it's a vibratory roller, so this thing should vibrate as well as drive back and forth under its own power. This is actually a really nice piece of equipment, very handy, if we can get it to work right. I want to say this thing's a dipstick, or maybe, nope, that's got something to do with the injector pump. I don't know what. I don't know exactly what that's doing. Maybe that's a kill. Usually on diesels like this, you just run the throttle all the way down to below idle and it'll kill it, but maybe that's how you shut this one off. I'm not sure. Can't be a compression release because it's something up here. It could also do something with the injection pump where it pushes more fuel than it does normally. I'm not sure. I don't see a dipstick anywhere. I thought that was the dipstick. Maybe there's a dipstick on the end of this thing. Nope. It looks good in there, nice and clean. Doesn't look like any moisture's gotten into it over the years. He's really good about keeping everything covered up, so I didn't expect there would be. You know, I'm looking at it here, and this whole outer aluminum shell comes off. That'll really get me a better peek at what's going on underneath here. So let's go ahead and try to pull it off of here without ripping these things. See what we can see under her dress. Vinage. Oh, that's cool. These are, I've never seen drums like this. So these drums are actually, instead of just being a smooth drum, they have like treads on them, which is nice, because these things, if you start trying to go up a slope with a smooth drum, a lot of times they'll just slide all over the place on you. It's just a pain. So that's pretty cool. Some sort of rubber isolated drive coupler down here, I think. It doesn't look like it's in real good shape. The rubber's kind of falling apart on it, so that might be a showstopper, but we can still see if we can get this thing running. It might still function, we don't know. He told me he thought it needed a clutch the last time he used it. That lever does something there. Maybe that engages the drive or something, I don't know. We'll figure it out once we get it running, huh? Yeah, see, there's more cooling fins down here on the bottom of the engine. You can see they're just packed full of mud dauber nests, so it'd be good to get this thing steam cleaned if it runs. You know, that's a solid no fluid at all on the dipstick, but we are leaning pretty good, so that could be part of our issue here. Definitely don't want to run it like that, though. I bet this thing weighs 800 or 900 pounds, maybe even 1,000. It is not light. I found the dipstick. They got it hiding down here underneath the fuel line. Yeah, it's got a little bit. We'll throw a little bit more in it just to see if this thing runs. And if it runs, we'll heat it up and get a whole oil change going on here. For what it's worth, the oil that's in it looks super clean. Doesn't look like it's been run much with that. Otherwise it'd be all black. I wish I knew what the heck this thing was. I'm betting after we spin this thing over, it's gonna drop that back down. So what else? I guess we need to confirm that the engine isn't even stuck. I don't even know if it turns over. Should have checked that before I put oil in it. Nothing like a good old-fashioned crank job to get your morning started. Ooh. It turns. It does feel a bit tight though. Holy compression. Whew. Yep, she's still got good compression. All right. This thing didn't drop back down yet. That's interesting. All right, I set the compression release there. See how she spins over with compression release. Much easier. Still quite tough. Actually, I think we're probably about ready to go. We just need to put some boom boom sauce in the tank there, and she should just pop off theoretically. All right, judging by how dry that tank is, we might have a fuel line leak, so I'm not going to put much in it. I'm just going to put enough to see if we have a leak. All right, now since this thing has been sitting so long with no fuel in it, we're going to go ahead and go through a fuel system bleed procedure. So this is our fuel line coming in from the tank, and you can see at the banjo bolt here, there's this straight head. You should be able to crack this thing loose, I'm guessing. Oh, yep. See if we get fuel coming out of here. See if we get fuel coming out of here. Come on. Yeah, I think we might have a little bit. Oh, I can hear the air coming out of it. There we go. Yep, we got fuel there now. So we did have a good bit of air trapped in there. Now, with something that's not electric start, I'm not sure how we should do this, because it's going to be an awful lot of hand cranking. I'm thinking normally I would crack, not the injector line here, but the injector line up at the top of the cylinder. I would crack that loose and crank it and crank it and crank it. But since we are the crank, that seems like a lot of work. Also, when you're bleeding a fuel system like this, you're going to want to keep it wide open throttle, so it would be pushing as much fuel as possible. So I'm not sure which way is wide open throttle here, though. There's no markings left on the control up here, and either way kind of seems like it could be wide open throttle. You know, is it all the way there, or is it all the way there? I'm gonna guess it's all the way here. That's the forward on the controls, so I'm gonna guess that that's wide open throttle. Am I right? I have no idea. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and crack this injector line open up here on top of the cylinder, even though it seems like it's gonna be miserable. Of course, that thing doesn't want to spin. There we go. Spinning now. Tell you what, I bought these Milwaukee wrenches just as like a cheap set to put in the truck, and I really like them. They've been good wrenches. No affiliation whatsoever, but I like them. Normally I wouldn't, but I'm gonna go ahead and take this line all the way off. There we go. Try to position that so you guys can see if we start getting fuel out of there. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and start cranking. Oh, look at that, we're getting fuel already. Oh, well, it's pushing enough fuel we can put the nut back on and just bleed that little air pocket out of it. Should be good. That's exciting. I didn't even have to crank that much. But it's already winded me. Whew. Okay, I think we got just about all the air out of that line. Should be showtime, I think, huh? Whew. Oh, boy, you can tell when that compression release kicks out. Whew. Oh, man. Oh, it's close. I can see a little bit of smoke coming. It wants to go. Man, that thing's got some compression. Getting fat boy out of breath here. Come on, baby. Fingers crossed. Oh, nothing. Man, that's a whole body workout. All right, can we dig it? Oh, Did you guys hear it? It made one pop. Made one pop. It's gonna go. I can feel it. This is it. Ready? Ugh. You gotta keep resetting the compression release because after so many revolutions it shuts it off. And boy, you know it when it shuts off. Oh, it's real close. Oh, closest one yet. Look, I know I'm getting out of shape, but like, this is embarrassing. Why is this so difficult? I used to start these things all the time. And I know there's gonna be somebody yelling at me. Oh, don't use ether, don't use ether. For gas and diesel engines. It's got upper cylinder lubricant. Come on, baby. Why? I'm not letting this thing kick my butt. Oh, oh, we're real close now. Ruh-roh. Well, the belt was probably already junk because there was so much oil soaked into it, but she's really cooking now. But it runs. It runs indeed. So that's pretty cool. We're gonna have to figure out how to loosen this whole thing up here because that's the forward and backward, and it sure don't seem like it's working. I have to get a new belt for that side, clean the pulleys all up. This side doesn't look too awful bad. Yeah, we could try to use that. Ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And then we got to figure out the oil for the gearbox down there. And yeah, but that's exciting. It runs. I guess we should do the right thing. Go ahead and bust out the good stuff here. We'll go ahead and soak this baby down. It's about all we can lube up. I think the cable itself is sealed. Yeah, it's up inside of this box here. You can't really get to it. Hopefully just spraying the outside here. Hopefully that's where it's only rusted at. I'll let that soak in for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and try to work it back and forth with a soft blow hammer. See what I do for you guys. I cranked that thing so long I got a blister, didn't even know it, and I ripped it off. Ugh. Oh yeah, smooth as butter. Oh yeah, that's a lot nicer. All right, time for a little persuasion now. This is a leather hammer, so it's got like these leather rolled inserts here so you can hit stuff without just destroying it. These are actually really nice, pretty old school tool, hard to come by these days. I call this one Big Bird because I had it painted yellow at one time. Oh, okay, she's moving. Look at that. Need more oil. Needs more kroil. Definitely getting easier. Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's still pretty stiff, but at least you can move it now. I couldn't even budge it before. Oh yeah. The more you work it, the better it gets. Oh, this throttle's just buttery smooth now. Yep. Hit that on there and let it marinate a bit yet. Well, I played around, kind of cleaned up this belt a little bit. Definitely wore a good spot in it, but I cleaned it up a little bit. Got some of the oil off of it, so maybe it'll actually spin all the way around now. It's pretty snug. We'll go ahead and fire this thing back up and see if this thing won't move. Starts easy enough. I don't understand why that thing won't move. All right, there's something wrong in this gearbox more than a belt slipping. And it was like this before I even started it up, so maybe there is some more to this. Some more to the story here. So this pulley will spin so far, and then it stops, and then it spins all the way back, and it'll stop. So something in the gearbox is stopping it from turning. Now, I'm not entirely sure what that might be. So I guess let's go ahead and pop off this cap on the gearbox and see if we can't have a peek in there, see if we see anything damaged. Getting parts for this thing is probably not going to happen. It's pretty darn old. Parts are pretty unavailable for stuff like this. Yeah, you can't see anything down through the oil fill port anyway. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Okay, so like I said, I think we might have an issue in this gearbox. This belt will spin all the way around till it hits something, and then it comes all the way back, and then it hits something again. So we need to pull this top cover off of this gear case, have a look down in there, see what's going on. And the only way to get into that is to remove the motor, but that really doesn't look like it's going to be too hard of a job. The hardest thing is going to be lifting the Jesus thing off of there, because I'm sure it weighs 1.5 tons. So anyway, let's start zipping this off of here. And 2 belts. And an engine that weighs 1 ton. Hope my marbles don't land in my shorts. Come on. Why are you so heavy? There we go. That's really not too bad. There we go. Let's get that gearbox off. Well, somebody's looking out for me, because that could have been much worse. That was actually pretty easy. Just hope all these bolts break loose here. That's one. All right, got all the bolts out of the cover here. What's behind door number 1? You guys got any guesses? You think we got a broken gear? You think, I don't know. What else could be wrong in here? Ooh, the fluid doesn't look good. I just got a glimpse of that. Ew. No, that doesn't look good at all. There's what's stopping us up. We've got water damage on our gear teeth. You guys see that? That's a shame. I don't know, this whole thing might be junk. Yeah, it's right there where those two water spots want to go together. It just binds it up. I don't know, as much as I'm going to use the thing, it might last a long time like this. I just got to clean those teeth out and it'll probably run all the way around. These clutches here, I can't rotate that yet. I don't know if I have to do something with the handle or what. But the clutch pack down here, if you can see that, it's got quite a bit of rust on it. And the same with this guy here, so yeah. It's not looking great. Basically, all I'm going to do is take a screwdriver here and try to jam this rust out of here. If I'd have kept working this back and forth, it probably would have eventually gone. But then I would have never known what the true story was in here. At least this way I can try to clean everything up in here to the best of my abilities. And then flush this gear case out real good so we don't have any of this rusty junk floating around in here. I'm just going to go ahead and shoot that all down with some kroil, flush it out the bottom. I don't have a vacuum out here, I would vacuum it off. I'll let that soak in. And we got the same thing in this gear here. So it looks like the gears were okay, you know, before the water got its way in here. There's no like chunks missing out of the gears or anything like that. So they should clean up pretty good, really. It's probably mostly surface rust. Shoot that on with some kroil. Now I bet you it turns through. Yep, there we go. That's a full revolution. Yeah. If we run that through a while, that'll clean up pretty nice, I bet. So this is pretty neat. You can see how this thing works. We've got the gear selector in neutral there. And you see, this is your input shaft and your forward shaft, I believe. Yeah. So right there is the neutral position. Both clutches are released. Now when you want to throw it into forward, you pull that like that, and it puts this, it lets the clutch engage on this side, and now you've got power running through this shaft down to the output shaft for your drums here. And when you want to go to reverse, same thing. Now it engages your reverser shaft here, and the power goes the other way, which is pretty neat. Unfortunately, the drums are kind of stiff from everything sitting for so long. You really need the engine power to break everything free here. I'd like to spin these output shafts around so I could see the gears on there, because I'm sure they have issues as well. They might not, you know, it just depends on how this thing was sitting and where the water was laying in it. I can tell there is still fluid down at the bottom of this case, and it's got water in it for sure. I think this must be a higher and low range or something. This lever back here, which is pretty fancy for something like this. I'm making sure none of these clutches are stuck together here. I can separate all the frictions from the steels, make sure nothing's hanging up on us. Tell you what, they got a pretty neat bit of manufacturing going on with this unit. This whole engine cradle assembly, you know, right here, this T-bar runs all the way down through here, up the other side, is all made in one casting with the gear case. See, there's no seam here, just a machined top. That is all one cast piece together. Boy, if you broke one of those, you bet you'd be expensive, huh? Back when you could get them. I'm sure you can't even get it now. All right, well, I ran to town, got the proper oil. I've got this baby sitting up on a board right now, and we're getting ready to drain what oil is in here out of it. So probably going to see some nastiness here. And before you say, oh, well, you got it up on an angle, you're not going to get it all out. False. The gear case is V-shaped, so pretty much no matter what angle I put it on, the drain plug is still directly on the bottom. Got 10 miles of thread on here. Nothing's even coming out. there we go. Oh, it's just delightful stuff. Look, you can tell. Oh. That's not good for the gear case, huh? Not even oil yet. It's just all water. There's a little bit of oil. Well, it looks like he might have had some sort of ATF fluid in here at one time. That's not what I'm going to put in here. So that's the kind of stuff that come out of there. That's good looking stuff, huh? Yeah. We'll reuse that. Well, I'm letting it sit here and drip for a little while yet. I'm gonna go ahead and probably dump some diesel down into the gear case and try to flush this thing out a little bit better. All right, I got me some of this, well, it's like generic tractor transmission fluid, but it's supposed to be good for wet clutches and gear cases, so that sounds like what we need. I'm just gonna give this a little splash over everything, and that'll push all the diesel out that's left in the case down there, hopefully. And that'll put the drain plug back in. All right, drain plug's back in. Now for the fresh oil. She's a light point. Oh, God. Oh. Yep, I pulled something. Oh. Oh. Boy, if only I had equipment laying around here, huh? I am the equipment. All right, everything is back together on the engine here. I guess it's the moment of truth. Even if the gear case wants to spin now, I mean, this belt's still pretty crusty, but even if this thing spins the gear case, we still have problems probably with our drums. I think this thing's been sitting so long that the drums don't want to turn, because I think in neutral this thing should push back and forth, and you're a bigger man than me if you can push those drums, because I can't get them to budge. So yeah, might take a little bit of back and forth work on the clutches there to get this thing freed up. And if that doesn't work, then I think we'll be disassembling and figuring out what's stuck. Man, this thing runs dandy, but yeah, we're definitely having problems with the drums here. Keep your eye on that drive coupler down there while I'm trying to move it back and forth. no dice on the whole moving thing. It really doesn't want to. Okay, well, here this thing sits in the shop here on a pallet, as it's been all summer long. As you may have been able to tell, the video that you just watched was recorded in the springtime. The reason I never finished this was you guys know I got a lot of projects going, and this is kind of a lesser important project. I just kind of started on this thing one day and got sucked in and had to keep playing around with it. I kind of have like project ADHD sometimes, and new stuff showing up like this gets me excited and makes me want to dive on into it. But anyway, I had stopped it back in the spring there because I could not get these drums to turn for the life of me. I tried a few different things, none of which I was proud of, trying to break the drums loose and make them turn, and I can't figure it out. It's got to be just rusted up in there somehow or another. But to fix it, we're going to have to split the whole thing apart and remove the drums and probably press out the axle shafts that they spin on. Now, I'm usually pretty good about being able to just dive into something like this without any kind of manuals or parts breakdowns or anything and figure out how it splits apart and how it goes back together. That really doesn't usually faze me, but this particular machine is kind of different in the way it comes apart from what I'm used to. And without a parts breakdown, I wanted to make sure I had a lot of time to actually do it and really take my time and document things and make sure I would be able to get this thing back together and functioning so I don't look like a schmuck on YouTube. But a cool thing happened the other day, and I was scrolling through Facebook Marketplace and I saw this exact compactor on Facebook Marketplace for sale, but instead of saying master right here, it said WAYY. And I said, huh? And I looked all over the internet, scoured and scoured, and I could not find any information on this particular model compactor under the master brand. But apparently somewhere along the line, WAYY has bought the rights to this thing, or maybe at one time WAYY produced it for master. I don't know what the situation there was, but the fact is that a WAYY BW 36. Fact is, a WAYY BW 35 is the exact same compactor with a few minor details in the hand control up there, and of course a paint job. So I was able to find all the parts breakdowns online, and so to get this thing functioning again, we're going to have to completely separate every piece of this machine, which without the parts diagrams would have been a little bit more daunting. But since we found them now, I should be able to get that done in a reasonable amount of time without too much aggravation and guesswork. Anyways, I know this is one of my smaller projects, a little less significant than, say, the grader or working on the auto car, but I do have fun on these little projects as well. To me, it's just as fun to get something small like this functioning again as it is like something big like the auto car or the Cat 977, projects like that. I have just as much fun firing up these little guys for whatever reason. So if you guys like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out and doesn't cost you a thing. If you're not already, be sure to subscribe so you can see part 2 whenever I get it released. If you click the little bell icon, you get notifications whenever I post a new video. So, as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.